Incho Vavande Vyasarupino Shri Guru Gaur Gandharva Govindascha Ganaisaha Jayanti Patakas Ch.Ch Sarvesham Karunartino. So we are continuing with Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're in the Madhya Lila, chapter 24, verse 27. Mahaprabhu is continuing his explanations of the Atmarama verse, and now he is defining is it 11? I think it's 11 words which are in the verse. So yesterday we finished with this word korvanti, which is Jai Shri Gurudev. This word korvanti, something very interesting. This is the verb to do in Sanskrit, and it's explained here that it has the verb to do in Sanskrit has two forms. There is one form, one grammatical form, which means to do something for oneself, for one's own satisfaction, and another form, to do something for another, for others, for the satisfaction of another. So very, very nice. Something new we learned. And this particular form of the to-do verb, korvanti, it means to do in the sense of doing for others. So indicates that true bhakti, true devotion, is performed for the Lord's satisfaction, not for one's own satisfaction. And so now we're coming to the next verse, and this theme is kind of continuing with the word hetu. The next word in the Atmarama verse is a haituki bhakti. And the word hetu, as it's going to explain, means cause. So ahetu or ahaitu here means without cause. So we hear this in the Shikshashtakam. Nadanam najanam na sundarim kavitamba jagadisha kamaye mama janmani shade bhavatad bhaktir ahaituki twice. So bhakti ahaituki, the same expression. Your ahait, Mahaprabhu is saying, I don't want anything of this world, I don't want wealth, I don't want followers, I don't want riches, I don't even want liberation. The only thing I want is ahaituki bhakti. Means bhakti that is ahetu, has no cause, in other words, has no selfish motivation, is not motivated by some personal gain for oneself. So that's what we're coming to now. Hetu shabde ko he bhukti adi vanchantade bhukti siddhi mukti mukya etin prakade. The word hetu, cause, means that a thing is done for some motive. There can be three motives, and then in the Bengali, those three things are bhukti, siddhi, and mukti. So bhukti, worldly, material enjoyment; siddhi, to attain some, you can say, some subtle enjoyment. Spirit, like pseudo-spiritual. It's not really spiritual in the proper sense. Not spiritual proper. Some like subtle material power, we can say, that one can attain through yoga practices and such. And then mukti, to become free from this. So here, this is a nice way of explaining this. Ahaituki bhakti, so he's explaining what is the opposite of that. Bhakti that is motivated by these three things: the desire for material enjoyment, the desire for subtle powers, and the desire for liberation from this world. Bhakti may be mixed with these desires, or may even be completely motivated by these desires. So it's being clear, when we say ahaituki bhakti, it means bhakti that is free from these three motives. So the word hetu, cause, means a thing that is done for some motive. There can be three motives. One may act to enjoy the result personally, to achieve some and that meaning here bhakti, but more specifically in the material enjoyment sense. 2, to achieve some material perfection, siddhi, some subtle power, or to attain liberation, to become free from the whole thing that this material world is about. Eka bhukti kohebo gananta prakar, siddhi ashta dash mukti panchavidakar. First, we take the word bhukti, material enjoyment, which is of unlimited variety. We may also take the word siddhi, perfection, which has 18 varieties. So we often hear of 8 siddhis, right? 8 special siddhis. Things like walking on water, becoming invisible, being able to manifest anything out of the air. Like I heard Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he told one story. He was on a train once with Srila Saraswati Thakur, and there was one young disciple, I think his name was Paramananda. He joined very young. I don't remember exactly what age, if it was 8 or 10 or 12, something like that. But he joined very young, and he was very dear to Saraswati Thakur, and would travel with him personally, sleep in his room. And so they were on a train once, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj was there, and the boy had mentioned, "Oh, I would really like some halava." Or maybe they'd stopped, they were like on the train and the train had stopped, and then, sometimes people will get out and buy some food, and Saraswati Thakur asked him, "Would you like something?" And he said, "Halava," and Saraswati Thakur said, "There's no halava here." Something like this. And then there was one man sitting there, and he said, "Oh, you want some halava? I will get you halava." And so he put his hand out the window, and he manifested some halava, and he gave that to the boy. Srila Sridhar Maharaj told the story. He had some like yogic siddhis. This is one of them. That anything you want, you can. This, I think, like Sai Baba, he did stuff like that, right? All glories to that. From the perspective of bhakti, it doesn't have a very high position at all. But anyway, there are people out there who have these. So there are 8 principal ones that we often hear of, but here it's mentioning there's 18 in total. Similarly, the word mukti has 5 varieties. And those 5, don't know if I can remember the Sanskrit right now. Sharshta, Samipya, Sharshta, Sarupya, Salokya, and Sayujya. The 4 devotional kinds of liberation. To have a form like the Lord, in Vaikuntha, Salokya, to reside in the Lord's abode, Samipya, to have a place very close to the Lord, Sharshti, to have opulence equal to the Lord, and then the 5th one is non-devotional, that is Sayujya Mukti, means to merge with the Lord. So, this is what the impersonalists aspire for, to merge to the Brahma Jyoti. So this is an interesting point, because what's been, normally when we say mukti, the most common connotation is this sayujya mukti, or simply, to become free from the negative side, but not to be positively situated. But here Mahaprabhu is clarifying, when I say mukti, I mean also devotional mukti, the desire to become, an associate of the Lord, to have a place in the Lord's abode. This is quite strong. That's also being rejected. And that is not pure devotion. Even to aspire to have a place in the Lord's abode as a servant, even that is not pure bhakti. So all of these things, they are being, rejected. When we say Haituki Bhakti, all of these things are dismissed. When we say causeless devotion, all these things are. When we say causes, we mean causes. There's no personal gain at all, zero.
But the most common one that we hear is the yogis merging into the Brahman, right? The liberation.
You mean when we say mukti?
Yeah.
Yeah, normally when we say mukti, that's what we mean, to become, or not even necessarily to go so specific, but simply to become liberated from the material abode, and then to be within the Brahman. But then within the Brahman, there's persons of different categories. There are some who are more of the Mayavad consciousness, where they're thinking that they are God, everyone is God, and we're all going to merge into this oneness. There's that section. Then there's others, like I think the Brahma Kumaris will fall in that category. You've heard of the Brahma Kumaris, right? And they're called Brahmavadis. There's Mayavadis and then there's Brahmavadis. So they believe there's this is the highest manifestation of the Absolute, the Brahman. They're not thinking they are that. It's different. It's not that same type of egotistical mentality. They're living in their aspiration is to live in this pure spiritual consciousness, seeing spirit everywhere, and ultimately to live in this plane of spirit as spirit. So it's different from the Mayavadis who have this egotistical conception that I am that, I am God. Like Shukadev Goswami, he was a Brahmavadi, So there's differences there. But in general, when we say mukti, we just mean to become free from this plane and to exist within the Brahman, the Brahmajyoti. But then, mukti may also mean, in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's one line which Gurudev and Srila Sridhar Maharaj would quote a lot, Muktir Hidvanya Tadupam Swadupena Vyavastiti, that real mukti, that doesn't actually count as real mukti because it's not a permanent position, for one thing. But real mukti, real liberation, means to be situated within one's swarup, within one's intrinsic spiritual identity. So that means that there must be some positive attainments, that one, and the highest, of course, will be to be situated in Goloka, Vrindavan. So that's like a deeper connotation of mukti, and it can also be used like that, But usually when we say it, we don't mean it with that connotation. Okay, we'll continue. E jaha nahi taha bhakti ahai tuki, jaha hoite vasha hoy Shri Krishna kotuki. Causeless devotional service is unmotivated by sense enjoyment, bhukti, perfection, siddhi, or liberation, mukti. When one is freed from all these contaminations, he can bring Lord Krishna, who is very funny, under control. This word here, kotuki, which is translated as funny, it means, we also see it as like a trickster, like he's tricky. And I think what the connotation here is that, Krishna, he's difficult to get a hold of. He's tricky. He's not straight. It's not straightforward to approach him. So, however, if you approach him without any selfish motive, if you approach in a completely pure and surrendered mood, then this word vasha, vasha hoy, means that you will control him. He will come under your control. So, Krishna, who's very difficult to attain, if you can approach without, and this is a very extraordinary thing, it's like a paradox. Like when you come to the point of not wanting anything for yourself, then you actually get everything. And this is also, this same idea is expressed in the Jnane Prayasham verse, that what is it? Jita jito piyasitais trilokyam. That who is ajita, that if you can fully surrender to the Lord, and Jnane Prayasham udapasya, to give up any calculative approach to the Lord, approach the Lord for His satisfaction without any personal, any calculation of one's personal loss or gain. What will be the result of that? So you're approaching in a mood of utter surrender. What will be the result of that? Krishna, who is ajita. Ajita means who is unconquerable. He will become jita. So that Krishna, who is impossible to conquer, who cannot, who's the master, tais trilokyam, who's the master of all the worlds, who is unconquerable, he will be conquered by such a person. He will become subdued by the love of such a devotee. Oh, it's the most wonderful thing. So this type of devotion, this has the power to control the Absolute, who is uncontrollable, who is the controller of all. It's the most wonderful, most extraordinary thing. Bhakti shabda artha hoy dashvidakar, eka sadhan prema bhakti nava prakar. There are 10 meanings for the word bhakti. One is sadhana bhakti, execution of devotional service according to the regulative principles. And the other 9 are varieties of prema bhakti, ecstatic love of Godhead. Rati lakshana, prema lakshana, ityadi prachar, bhavarupa mahabhav, lakshanrupar. So now we're coming to the next word in the Atmarama verse, haituki, bhakti. So what does bhakti mean? 10 kinds of bhakti. Sadhana bhakti, where we are, in the practicing stage, and then there's 9 levels of prema bhakti. Is it levels or? Yeah, I think it's described in a gradation. Yeah. So next are explained the symptoms of love of Godhead, prema, which can be divided into 9 varieties, beginning with attraction and extending up to ecstatic love, and finally up to the topmost ecstatic love, mahabhav. Shanta bhakti rati bade prema parjanta, dasya bhakti rati hoy ragada shanta. The attraction to Krishna of devotees on the platform of neutrality increases up to love of Godhead, prema, and attraction of devotees on the platform of servitorship increases to spontaneous attachment, rag. So there's, not that we're really fit to enter into this discussion, but just to make it more clear, what it's saying is that these 5 main rasas, relationships with Krishna, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhur, the members of each of these groups, or those who have such, taste or such relationship, there's a particular level of prema which they can attain. Mahabhav, Radharani, she's tasting Mahabhav. That is her thing. It's not that everybody has Mahabhav. That's Radharani's thing, and she may give some tasters of that to others sometimes, as we've heard Srila Sridhar Maharaj explain. And Bhav, which is before Mahabhav, that is, in Madhura Ras, and, one or two, I think like Srila Sridhar mentioned, Jashoda and Vatsalya Ras, she tastes Bhav, and in Sakya Ras, I think Subal Saka. So yeah. So that's what's being said here. So those in Shanta Ras, they can reach Prema. Those in Dasya Ras, they can reach Rag. This development of Prema Bhakti. Saka Ganer Rati Hoy Anurag Parjanta Pichamacha Snehadi Anuraganta. Devotees in Vrindavan who are friends of the Lord, those in Sakya Ras, can increase their ecstatic love to the point of anurag. Parental affectionate lovers, Krishna's father and mother, can increase their love of Godhead up to the end of anurag. Kantaganirati pai mahabhava sima Bhakti Shabdir Heshab Bhartera Mahima. The gopis in Vrindavan who are attached to Krishna in conjugal love can increase their ecstatic love up to the point of Mahabhav, the greatest ecstatic love. These are some of the glorious meanings of the word Bhakti. And now we have, this is not a quotation. Itambuta guna shabder shunoho vyakyan itam shabder binaharta guna shabderam. Please hear the meaning of the word itambuta guna, which is found in the Atmarama verse. Itambuta has different meanings, and guna has other meanings. So continuing with the words in the Atmarama verse. Itam Buddha Shabdarartha Purnananda Moy Jarage Brahmananda China Prai Hoy. The word Itam Buddha is transcendentally exalted because it means full of transcendental bliss. Before this transcendental bliss, the bliss derived from merging into the existence of the Absolute becomes like a piece of straw in comparison. Let me just look at the original verse here. Itam Bhuta. Well, it's not so clear. Itam Bhuta, so wonderful, so it's describing Krishna, so wonderful as to attract the attention of the self-satisfied, and Guna, who is transcendental quality. Okay, well, anyway, we can continue hearing. But anyway, the point here is the joy that is found in connection with Krishna. It is so great that the joy that is found in Brahmananda and the joy that is found in the Brahman, it becomes as insignificant as a piece of straw. This is also mentioned in the 6 qualities, 6 characteristics of bhakti that Rupa Goswami outlines in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. What is the first word? Kleshagni, Shubhara, Moksha Laguta Krit. This is the third thing that's mentioned, that Kleshagni, the first characteristic, it destroys all suffering. Shubhada, it bestows all auspiciousness. And the third, Moksha Laguta Krit. It makes moksha look very insignificant. Moksha in the ordinary sense. So any enjoyment, that one pleasure that may be had in the soul and to be found within our own soul, and any pleasure that is to be found in the Brahman, it really makes you realize, like, whatever enjoyment we get in this world, it's like so nasty, actually. Like, our conception of pleasure is so sad, Those who are tasting Krishna Bhakti, they see the joy of the Brahman. They see the joy of the self. That is like insignificant. That is nothing compared to the joy of Krishna. What to speak of whatever little thing in the name of enjoyment we experience in this world, It's like a joke, We haven't even begun to be able to appreciate. Our palate is so base, Our sense of taste, it's so low. Okay, we do have to finish early. I'll just read one more verse here. And this is, I believe, one of Dhruva Maharaj's verses when he was, praying for the Lord to appear because he was upset about being mistreated by his father, and he wanted to have a kingdom to rival his father, or something like that. I don't remember all the details. But then when he saw the Lord, when the Lord finally appeared to him, he realized, whatever it was he'd been aspiring for, it was so meaningless. There's another verse in this same, in these same prayers, or that famous one where he says, "I realize I've been now that you're before me, everything I was desiring before." No. He says, "I was searching for some pieces of broken glass." That verse. "I was searching for some pieces of broken glass, but now a diamond has come before me." So this is another verse in that same place. This is the Hari Bhakti Sudodaya. It's not in Bhagavatam, these verses. Tvat sakshat kadana lada vishudabdi stitasya me sukhani goshpadayante brahmanyapi jagadguru. My dear Lord, so Dhruva is speaking to the Lord, O Master of the universe, since I have directly seen you, my transcendental bliss has taken the shape of a great ocean. Being situated in that ocean, I now realize all other so-called happiness to be like the water contained in the hoofprint of a calf. Jai. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Jai Ch.Ch. Ki Jai Shri Krishna's Kaviraj Kasanta.
He did get then Dhruva Maharaj. He got the boon, right?
Yeah, but he didn't want it. When he first went to the forest, he was praying for that. But then when Lord Vishnu appeared to him and he saw how beautiful and wonderful and how ecstatic he is, then that all went out of his mind, and he was ashamed of himself. But then the Lord, it was the Lord's own desire to give him something. Same also with Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad didn't want anything, but Nrsingadev wanted to give him something, and he insisted to give some type of boon. But Dhruva, no. And so then he was given what's called the pole star, right? Dhruva Loka. But that was the Lord's will. Okay. We'll continue tomorrow.